Okay. So, ang topic natin is the case of two independent samples. And actually, napag-usapan na natin yung Fisher exact test at saka yung chi-square test for independence. Chi-square test of independence or chi-square test for two independent samples. So we will proceed dun sa other types of tests. Wait. Tapos, ayan. So pag-uusapan natin, sabi ko nga, yung non-parametric tests. In this time, since the case of two independent samples tayo, dapat yung ating independent variable ay dichotomous. Ibig sabihin, may dalawang options. So, napag-usapan natin yung Fisher exact test na ginagamit nga siya kapag yung IV, independent variable, tsaka DV, dependent variable, ay parehas dichotomous. So, since parehas na dichotomous, it will we can create a 2 by 2 contingency table. So, kasi si Fisher exact test, magagamit lang siya kapag 2 by 2 ang table. Kapag merong mas mataas na dimension ng table, like 2 by 3 or 3 by 3, we should use instead the chi-square test for two independent samples. So kung 2 by 2 lang tayo, pwede si Fisher exact test. Kaya lang, hindi ko sinasabi na kapag 2 by 2 dapat Fisher lang, hindi magagamit si chi-square. Pwede pa rin si chi-square. Especially kapag yung laman ng mga cells, mga expected values, ay greater than 5. So, kung halimbawa meron tayong 2 by 2 table, tapos yung expected values lahat, yung 4 cells ay greater than 5 ang value, ang expected value, chi-square ang gagamitin natin. Pero kapag merong cell na less than 5 ang expected value dun sa 2 by 2 table, contingency table, Fisher exactness ang gagamitin natin. Okay, so nabanggit ko na yung assumptions ng mutual exclusivity, yung assumption ng randomization, yung assumption ng independence, independence of groups, and independence of observation, and na dapat, before we can proceed to the exact test, the Fisher's exact test, uh, we can determine the marginal totals. Ito, nakalagay, marginal totals. We can determine, halimbawa, kapag male-female, alam natin kung ilan lahat yung male, ilan lahat yung female. Okay. So, ito yung example natin. And naka-form din ng isang 2 by 2 contingency table showing attitude na positive, negative, tsaka the IV, the independent variable na men and women or male, female. Okay. So, tapos na natin ito. Sorry. Ang titingnan natin dito yung Fisher exact test. Exact. UP. Okay, so this is the report. Napag-usapan na natin last time yung chi-square test of independence. Sabi ko nga, ang chi-square parang generalization ito ng Fisher exact. Kasi si Fisher exact test, magagamit lang siya sa 2 by 2 table, contingency table. Kapag meron tayong higher dimensions like 2 by 3, 2 by 4, or 3 by 3, 3 by 5, ganyan, higher tables, we should use the chi-square test for independence. Pero we have to consider the assumptions na dapat kung 2 by 2 lang, lahat yun ay greater than 5 ang expected values. Kung meron tayong higher dimension, for example, 3 by 4, so kung 3 by 4 ang ating contingency table, meron tayong 12 cells. 3 times 4, 3 by 4, 12 cells. Tapos, ang rule natin, dapat 80% ng cells na yun ay greater than 5 ang expected values. Or wala, dapat yung, kung meron mang below 5, dapat hindi siya tataas sa 20%. Okay, so for example, kung meron tayong, halimbawa, 2 by 5 table, 2 by 5, tapos, since 2 by 5 siya, di 10 ang cells. 2 times 5 is 10. So, sa 10 na yun, kapag meron kang 8 doon ng expected values ay greater than 5, you can use the chi-square test. Kasi 8 is 80% of 10 sa 2 by 5 table. Kung, halimbawa, doon sa 2 by 5 table natin, merong tatlong cells na less than 5 ang value, hindi natin magagamit sa chi-square test because violated yung assumption. Okay. Kung sakali na violated yung assumption na ganun, chi-square, 2 by 5 table siya, tapos violated yung assumption na dapat 80% ay greater than 5, 80% of the cells ay dapat may expected values na greater than 5, we should report instead the likelihood ratio. Itong example na sunod dito ipapakita ko na likelihood ratio ang iba-present in the chi-square. So ito yung assumptions, parehas lang dun sa Fisher's exact test na merong mutual exclusivity between the groups. Ibig sabihin, merong independence of groups, merong randomization, random sample. Tapos dapat ang laman ng cells ay frequencies and not scores. Tapos yung assumption na, ito na, nabanggit ko na to, no more than 20% of the cells should have expected frequencies of less than 5. And then the independence of observations. So hindi ito pang related samples, independent samples ito. Dito tayo nag-stop last time, the strength of association. Kasi kapag lumabas na yung result ng chi-square ay significant, or yung result ng chi-square or ng Fisher exact test ay significant, we should also report the strength of association between the two variables. Kasi 'di ba, dito sa hypothesis test na to, may dalawang variables ang pinag-uusapan natin, yung independent variable tsaka dependent variable. If it so happens na significant ang result, meaning ang computed p-value natin ay less than 0.05, the significance level, ibig sabihin nun, merong significant difference doon sa groups. Tapos, kailangan din nating i-report yung association. Ibig sabihin, merong association between the IV and the DV, the independent variable and the dependent variable. And so we should report the strength of association. And that strength of association can be measured by the phi coefficient, the contingency coefficient, or the Kramer's V. Yung mga coefficients na to ng association ay depende ang gamit. Ibig sabihin, nakadepende siya sa dimension ng table natin. Kapag 2 by 2 yung table, so pwede dito yung Fisher's exact test tsaka chi-square na 2 by 2 table, we should report the phi coefficient. Pero kapag 2 by k ang table natin, for example, 2 by 3, 2 by 4, 2 by 5, so meron tayong dichotomous tapos 3 or more levels sa another variable, we should report the contingency coefficient. Pero kapag meron tayong table ng dimension ay greater than 2, then we have to report the Kramer's fee. Uh, okay. So, ayan, the Kramer's fee. Paano ba i-interpret yung strength of association na to? Kapag, according to Cohen, 1988, yung effect sizes daw ay i- i-interpret as follows. Kapag ang value ng coefficients ay 0.10 or below, ang effect size niya ay small. So, hindi ganun kalakas ang association. So, weak. Medyo weak yung association kapag 0.10 ang effect size. If the computed coefficients, itong phi, contingency, or Kramer ay 0.3 or below, meaning between siya ng 0.10 to 0.3, meron lang siyang medium effect size. So, moderate yung association ng dalawang variables. Pero kapag 0.5 or higher ang effect size, or yung computed Kramer's V contingency coefficient, for example, then merong strong association or strong correlation between the variables. Large ang effect size. Okay. Tingnan natin ito sa example. Kanina, dun sa Fisher's exact test, hindi ko na pinakita yung strength of association kasi hindi naman significant. Tama ba? Hindi ba significant yung result natin kanina? Check ko nga. Oo. Hindi significant. Nakita natin dito sa report na the computed p-value is 0.067, which is not less than the risk level na 0.05. Therefore, hindi siya significant. Kapag hindi significant, you don't have to report the effect sizes. You don't have to report the symmetric measures. So dito sa chi-square natin, mare-report natin siya kasi lalabas dito na significant. Okay. So ito example. A counseling department, ano ba ito tanggalin? Ito. Wait, wala pa. A counseling department for a school system is conducting a study to investigate the association between children's attendance in public and private preschools and their behavior in the kindergarten classrooms. Ang gusto makita dito ng counseling department, kung yung kindergarten students nila or pupils ay nanggaling sa public preschool, nanggaling sa private preschool, meron bang effect yun? Meron bang kinalaman yun or association sa kung gaano sila mag-behave in the kindergarten classroom? So the researcher desires to see kung merong positive association, kung meron bang association yung kung saan silang preschool galing at yung behavior nila in the kindergarten. Related ba yung dalawang yun? Meron ba tayong masasabing trend or tendency na kapag galing sa private, ganito yung magiging behavior, o kapag galing sa public, ganito yung magiging behavior ng kindergarten. So, yun yung gustong tingnan ng researcher. So, ang sample size niya sa study ay 100. So, meron siyang 100 pupils, kindergarten pupils na inobserve. Tapos, ito yung result. Ito yung data. So, yung data natin, as shown in this table, represent the observed frequencies for the 100 children. In-observe yung 100 na bata na kindergarten ng 6 weeks, within 6 weeks. We want to determine if there is any association between the type of preschool experience and yung behavior nila sa kindergarten in the first 6 weeks of school. Makikita natin dito sa table na to, this is a contingency table, pero 3 by 3 kasi 3 yung levels ng type of preschool experience at 3 din yung level ng behavior in the kindergarten. Yung levels natin sa type of preschool experience ay either nanggaling ba sila sa public preschool, nanggaling sila sa private preschool, or hindi sila nag-preschool. Samantalang yung behavior sa kindergarten ay na-categorize into 3 levels. Either poor behavior, average behavior, tsaka good behavior. Makikita natin dito sa table na to na yung yung mga kindergarten na galing sa public preschool, marami ang may poor behavior. Tingnan nyo, doon sa poor, ang may pinakamataas na bilang ay yung galing sa public preschool. There are 12 students, pupils na poor ang behavior. Samantalang yung mga hindi nag-preschool, no preschool, dalawa lang ang narito sa nakalagay. Sa average naman, karamihan narito, tingnan nyo. 25, 12, tsaka 23. Samantalang sa good, there are 10 good kindergarten students na galing sa public preschool at 10 good kindergarten students naman na hindi nag-preschool. Tingnan natin kung independent ba yung dalawang variables na to. Yung type of preschool experience tsaka yung behavior in kindergarten, kung independent sila or associated. So tingnan natin, first uh, i-identify natin yung hypothesis. The hypothesis test aims to determine kung merong association between the type of preschool experience at yung behavior ng children observed during the first 6 weeks of preschool. State natin yung hypothesis as whether merong association or wala. Kasi ang test natin ay chi-square test of independence. I-check natin kung may association or wala. So ang null hypothesis natin will be stated as there is no association between the type of preschool experience a child has and the child's behavior in the kindergarten. So specify natin sa null hypothesis yung dalawang variables natin. Ang kino-compare natin dito ay ang tinitingnan natin na variables dito ay yung type of preschool experience at yung child's behavior in the kindergarten. Sinasabi natin sa null hypothesis na they are not associated. There is no association. Samantalang sa alternative hypothesis, yung positive part, ano yun, positive statement na there is an association between the type of preschool experience a child has and the child's behavior in the kindergarten. So, gagamitin natin dito na level of significance is 0.05. This is always the case natin. Kasi nasa social science research tayo, 0.05 ang risk level. Since ang data natin ay classified only as categories or frequencies, kasi binilang natin frequencies siya kasi meron tayong counts. Binilang natin ilan yung galing sa public preschool na good behavior, na poor behavior, ganun. Meron lang tayong frequencies or counts. And we want to determine if there is an association between the two categorical variables. So, chi-square test ang gagamitin natin dito. Ang decision rule natin, take note ha, sa hypothesis test natin, you have to state the risk level, which is 0.05, and you also have to state the decision rule. And ang decision rule natin ay associated dun sa significance level. We have to reject the null hypothesis if the computed p-value is less than the risk level or the significance level, which is 0.05. Gagamitin natin dito ay yung SPSS. So, ito yung result. Nilagay ko lang dito yung expected counts para makita natin kung ilang percent yung below 5. Okay, so yung nakalagay ditong count, itong nakalagay, paano ba mag-change ng ano pala? Tawag dito cursor into annotate. Pwede ba tayo mag-annotate? Sige, annotate. Ito. So itong part na to, yan yung counts. Yan. So, ito yung nandun sa table natin kanina sa contingency table. Ayan. 23 ba yung nandun kanina? Anyway, ito. Tapos ito naman yung mga marginal totals. Ibig sabihin, hindi ko na edit ito. Ang nakalagay dyan sa table natin, one is public preschool, private, tapos no preschool. Dito naman, poor, good, tapos ano pa ba yung isa doon? Balikan ko nga yung table. Paano ba magtanggal ng annotation? Okay. Balikan natin yung table kanina. Ba't ayaw bumalik? Hindi na natanggal yung annotation. Ayan, poor, average, tsaka good. Wait, paano ba tanggal yung annotation? Okay, wait. Annotate, erase. Naku, yan, erase natin. Pwede palang ganito lang gagamitin. Mouse. Sige. Spotlight. Okay. Sige, let's proceed. So, ito yung yung cross tabulation or contingency table. Sabi ko nga, pernesan ko dito yung expected counts. Chinek ko yung expected counts para makita natin kung meron bang expected count na below 5. Ito 9.4, 28.2, 9.4, so lahat sila greater than 5. Pero kung titingnan natin dito sa nasa gitna, 3.6 yung expected count dito, this is below 5. Tapos 3.6 naman dito, which is also below 5. So ibig sabihin yan, meron tayong dalawa dito na below 5. Tapos ito naman, 7, 21, 7. So there are 9 cells in all kasi 3 by 3 table ito. 3 times 3 is 9. Pero merong 2 out of 9 cells na below 5. So makikita nyo dito sa chi-square test table sa baba na nakalagay, 2 cells or 22.2%. So 2 divided by 9 is 22.2%. Ang merong expected count na less than 5. Sabi ko nga, that violation yun sa chi-square test. Hindi natin i-report yung chi-square statistics, yung chi-square value, if merong ang percentage ng number of cells na below 5 ay lumampas sa 20%. 22.2% is greater than 20%. So therefore, violated yung assumption na dapat hindi siya lalampas sa 20%. Ang below 5 ang expected value. In that case, hindi natin i-report yung chi-square value na 11.502. Instead, ang i-report natin ay yung likelihood ratio. Ang likelihood ratio dito ay 16.042. Yan ang i-report natin na value ng chi-square. Naglagay ako ng note dito. Note that 2 out of 9 or 22.2% of the cells have an expected count below 5. So this is more than the 20% assumption na dapat greater than 5. At dapat hindi lalampas sa 20% yung below 5. So ang i-report natin nga ay yung likelihood ratio. Ito. Okay. Meron pa ba itong kasunod? Okay, so ang decision natin is to reject the null hypothesis. Why do we have to reject the null hypothesis? Kasi ang decision rule natin is to reject the null hypothesis if the computed p-value is less than 0.05. Titingnan natin yung likelihood ratio natin, ang value niya ay 16.042, ang degrees of freedom niya ay 4, at ang asymptotic significance or ang p-value niya ay 0.003, which is below 0.05. So therefore, we have to reject the null hypothesis. And the conclusion is, by rejecting the null hypothesis, we state na there is an association between the type of preschool experience a child has and the child's behavior in the kindergarten. So yung conclusion natin related to doon sa ating alternative hypothesis. Ito yung ating alternative hypothesis kasi we have to reject the null hypothesis. Pansinin ninyo, ang nireport ko ditong value ay yung LR, which is the likelihood ratio. LR, chi-square, degree of freedom is 4, so nakalagay dyan 4. Ang value niya ay 16.042 and the p-value is less than 0.05. So, since significant siya, ibig sabihin, merong association, merong relationship yung type of preschool experience tsaka yung behavior sa kindergarten. Tapos, i-report din natin yung symmetric measures. This time, ang kukunin natin ay yung Kramer's V. Bakit siya Kramer's V? Sabi ko nga, ginagamit natin yung Kramer's V kapag more than 2 ang dimension ng ating table. Ang table natin 3 by 3. So, more than 2 siya. Lampas siya dun sa 2 by. Kapag 2 by 2 lang, i-report natin si phi coefficient. Pero kapag hindi siya 2 by 2, meaning mas higher yung dimensions ng table, i-report natin si Kramer's V. So, nakalagay dito, in addition, the measured effect size presented a medium level of association. Medium siya kasi, di ba, yung low, ano ba yun? Yung 0.10, 0.3, tapos 0.5 yung ating effect sizes. So, since nandun siya sa pagitan ng 0.10 tsaka 0.3, kaya medium yung level ng association. Okay, so how do we report now the result? So, kwento natin yung, kwento natin yung research, yung study. So, meron daw sample na 100 students na observed during the first 6-week period in the kindergarten to see if there is any association between the children's attendance in public and private preschools and their behavior in the kindergarten classroom. The three preschool experiences were no preschool, private preschool, or public preschool. Babanggitin natin yung levels. Samantalang yung three behavior ratings were poor, average, and good. It was found that there is a significant association. Ito yung numbers natin, yung results. Likelihood ratio chi-square 16.042 p less than 0.05 between the type of preschool experience that a child has and the child's behavior in kindergarten. So merong significant association between the two variables. So with a medium effect size, Kramer's V equals 0.240. So based on these results, there was a tendency shown for students from private schools to not have good behaviors. And ko to kinuha? Kasi kung papansinin ninyo dito sa table nga natin, merong tendency yung mga galing sa public preschool na merong poor behavior or not good behavior. Samantalang meron namang tendency ng mga hindi nag-preschool na hindi poor yung kanilang behavior. So yung tendency na magkaroon ng poor behavior ay nasa public preschool at hindi doon naman sa no preschool. So we stated here na there was a tendency shown for students from private schools to not have good behavior, private, public dapat. And those with no preschool to not have poor behavior. It also indicated that average behavior was strong for all preschool experiences. Mali yung nalagay ko dito, dapat ano to? This is not private, dapat public. Public. Kasi ito public na nakalagay natin dito eh. Okay. Tanggalin ko na. Sige. Spotlight. Okay, so that's how we do chi-square test of independence or chi-square test for two independent samples. Now let's move sa next topic natin. Median test. Okay, so napag-usapan natin si Fisher's exact test, pang 2 by 2 table. Napag-usapan na natin si chi-square test. And now, pag-usapan natin ang median test. Okay, so this is an unparametric equivalent of the independent samples t-test or ANOVA. So, pansinin ninyo ulit, ang median, kaya nga siya tinawag na median test, ibig sabihin, ang involved natin dito na, tawag dito, ang involved natin na central tendency measure ay median. So, median-based statistics ito. So, yung t-test tsaka ANOVA, pareha silang mean-based statistics. Ibig sabihin, kinocompute natin ang t-test or ANOVA base sa mean, sa means ng ating data. So, dito sa median test, ito ay non-parametric equivalent. Ibig sabihin, halimbawa, meron tayong dataset, tapos pwede sana si t-test or si ANOVA, kaya lang lumabas na hindi normally distributed yung ating data. So, kapag hindi normally distributed yung ating data, halimbawa, ginamit natin si Shapiro-Wilks or si Kolmogorov-Smirnov test para i-determine kapag normal yung ating distribution. And we found out na hindi normal yung distribution, then hindi natin magagamit si t-test or si ANOVA. Instead, we should use the non-parametric equivalent, either t-test or ANOVA. Isa pa, magagamit very useful na test, si median test, kapag merong outliers. Outliers. You are familiar with outliers, di ba? Makikita natin ang outlier sa box plot. So, pwede tayong gumawa ng box plots. Tapos, madedetermine natin kung sino yung lampas doon sa tails or sa whiskers. Okay. Sa box plot natin. Kapag may outliers ang ating dataset, preferred natin yung non-parametric equivalent ng tests. So, in this case, pwede natin gamitin si median test. So this test aims to determine whether a significant difference exists between the medians of two or more groups. So ang kino-compare natin medians ng groups. Take note din ha, two or more groups. So pwede siyang gamitin sa case ng two independent samples. Pwede rin siyang gamitin sa case ng three or more independent samples. Si median test. Okay. So ngayon, since ang topic natin is two independent samples, dito muna tayo sa two groups. So tinetest niya kung merong difference ang medians ng groups. And nabanggit ko na, this is used especially kapag merong outliers sa ating dataset. Okay, so halimbawa, pinag-uusapan natin salary of employees at Nakatanduan State University. Merong employees na sumasahod dyan ng siguro malapit na sa 200,000 per month. And that is very far from the average, from the mean. So siguro ang mean somewhere between mga 50K, mga ganyan. So, masyadong malayo yung 200K na salary. So, tapos meron din mga nagsasahod na below, mga nasa 15K, ganyan, or 12K. Kumbaga, hindi magandang gamitin si mean as a measure of central tendency kasi merong outliers. Tapos, for sure, mataas din yung variability in that case. So, ma-violate natin yung homoscedasticity or yung homogeneity of variance na dapat ang variances ay dapat hindi masyadong malayo yung variances ng groups. So, in that case, pwede natin gamitin ang medians or a median test. Pero take note that the median test is less powerful than its parametric counterpart. Ibig sabihin, less power, as always naman, ang non-parametric tests ay less powerful compared to parametric tests. So, halimbawa, meron tayong t-test results or ANOVA result, mas powerful yun kay median test. So, kung halimbawa, wala namang violation, wala namang na-violate sa parametric assumptions, gamitin natin palagi yung parametric test kung walang violated assumptions. Pero kung halimbawa, merong violated na assumption, let's say, small sample size, hindi normal, hindi approximately normal ang distribution, or merong outliers, then we should use the non-parametric equivalent or non-parametric alternatives. So, pwede tayong gumamit ng median test, Mann-Whitney test kapag two groups, Kruskal-Wallis-H test kapag three or more groups. Okay. Pero si median test ay less powerful pa rin compared kay Mann-Whitney tsaka kay Kruskal-Wallis. So, kung pwede namang magamit si Mann-Whitney test tsaka si Kruskal-Wallis H test, sila yung gagamitin natin. Kaya lang, sa cases na merong matataas or maraming outliers ang ating dataset, best preferred natin si median test. Okay. Ito yung mga assumptions natin sa median test. Dapat at least ordinal level of measurement yung ating data. Okay, at least ordinal. Either ordinal or continuous yung measurement. So, kung puro nominal yung ating test, kung puro nominal yung ating variable, ibig sabihin, puro siya categorical na nominal lang, hindi natin magagamit ang median test. Kasi kapag categorical ang ating dataset, hindi naman tayo nagde-determine ng median. Ang ginagamit natin dun, mode, kapag nominal ang ating variable. Okay. Every score, yung data natin dapat random pala. Actually, palagi ko na itong binabanggit, whether we have parametric or non-parametric statistics, hindi mawawala sa assumption yung randomization tapos independence of observation. Palagi niyo makikita yan. Whether we have parametric tests, parametric statistics or non-parametric statistics. Randomization and independence of observations. So, yan, nabanggit ko na. Independence of observations. Tapos, the samples need to be independent, mutual exclusivity. Ito naman, independence of groups. Iba ang independence of observation sa independence of groups. Pag sabihin natin independence of groups, ito yung mutual exclusivity. Ibig sabihin, ah, hindi pwedeng merong isang participant na member ng two groups. Member siya nung first group, member pa siya ng second group, violated yung independence of groups, violated yung mutual exclusivity. Yun yung sinasabi nating independence of groups. Dapat every respondent, every participant can be placed in only one of the groups. Hindi pwedeng part siya ng either of the groups. Okay, mutual exclusivity yun. Yung independence of scores naman, yung every data, dapat independent sila. Hindi, unlike to dun sa related data na meron tayo. Example na walang independence of scores, halimbawa sa quiz, nagbigay ako ng quiz. Kung lahat kayo, let's say, walang student na nag-cheat, ibig sabihin, every student ay nag-relay lang sa kung anong alam niya, so, hindi siya tumingin sa kaklase niya, hindi siya nag-cheat. Merong independence of observation doon, independence sa score. Pero kung halimbawa, nagbigay ako ng test, tapos nag-cheat kayo, for example, merong isang student na yung mga sagot niya, ginagaya niya dun sa sagot ng katabi niya. So yung score niya, dependent dun sa score ng katabi niya. Kung tama yung mga sagot ng katabi niya, di pwedeng tama rin siya kasi nag-cheat nga siya, kinukuha niya, ginagaya niya yung sagot. So wala dong independence of observation in that case. So violate yung atong assumption doon. Okay. So yun yung sasabi natin independence of observations. Tapos independence of groups, magkaiba sila. So sa median test, dapat present itong assumptions natin. Example, halimbawa, we want to perform a median test dito sa scores obtained by employees of public and private banks on work motivation. So siguro measure yung work motivation ng employees na nasa public and private banks. So ang ating independent variable dito ay yung kung saan silang employee, kung public or private employee sila. So dichotomous ito. So ang independent variable natin is yung employees. Hindi, type of bank kung saan galing yung employee. Yun yung ating independent variable. Ang dependent variable natin ay yung scores on work motivation. Okay. So, halimbawa, ito yung scores on work motivation. Ito yung scores ng, ilan ba to? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So, ito yung 12 employees from private banks. Ito yung kanilang scores. Ito naman yung scores ng, ba't parehas na public? Private. Public itong isang ito. Ano ba yan? Public ito. Public banks. So, private banks, there are 12 employees. Actually, hindi ako sure kung alin yung public tsaka private na. Tingnan ko nga dun sa tingnan natin sa sa result later. Pero yung isa dun public tapos yung isa private. Okay. So this hypothesis test aims to determine if the median test ito so ang kino-compare natin, medians. If the medians of work motivation scores between the two groups are significantly different or not. So hence, we have this hypothesis. Sasabihin natin sa null hypothesis na there is no significant difference in the median work motivation scores of employees from private banks and from public banks, private and public banks. Samantalang alternative, yung positive statement ng ating null hypothesis. There is significant difference in the median work motivation scores. So the data are obtained from two independent samples of employees from private and public banks. Yung sample size natin ay small. This is relatively small. Ilan lang? 12 tsaka 11 per group ha. Ang tinitingnan natin sample size per group. So since meron tayong 12 tsaka 11, below uh, violated yung ating assumption ng normality kasi ini-expect natin sa normality na dapat large ang sample size. So since we are comparing medians of two independent samples, gagamitin natin si median test. And we will use the significance level of alpha equals 0.05. And the decision rule is to reject the null hypothesis if the computed p-value is below 0.05. So ito yung ating result. Ang first na ipapakita dyan itong hypothesis test summary. Makikita natin dito ang null hypothesis, the medians of work motivation scores are the same. Parehas lang dun sa null hypothesis natin. Kapag the same, ibig sabihin there is no difference in the medians of work motivation scores. So ang test na ginamit natin ay independent samples median test. The p-value, the computed p-value is 0.220. 0.220 is not less than 0.05. Therefore, ang decision natin is to retain the null hypothesis. Okay. So, pansinin ninyo, makikita natin dito, ang total is 23. Kasi 12 at saka 11 yun, total is 23. Ang common median is 19. The test statistics is 2.112. The degrees of freedom is 1. And the p-value is 0.220. Gagamitin natin si Fisher exact. Kailan ginagamit yung exact sig? Kapag less than p. Kapag small ang sample size. Halimbawa, present silang dalawa, asymptotic p, tsaka exact p. Kunin natin si exact p kapag small ang sample size. So we have 0.220 dito. Kaya ang nakapresent dito is the exact significance ang displayed. Tingnan nyo din ano, yung distribution ng ating scores using box plot. Ito yung box plot. So, tingnan natin yung distribution scores. Ang median, ano ba? This is the median. Yung median ng private bank ay narito. Samantalang yung median naman ng public bank ay narito. Pero yung distribution of scores nila ay mula dito papunta doon ay halos kumbaga magkalapit lang naman. Kung kukunin natin yung confidence interval ng median, somewhere nandyan lang siya sa gitna ng dalawang ito. Okay. Actually, ito nga siya. O yan. Median natin, median is 19. So, narito siya, median. kung kukunin natin yung confidence interval, pasok yung median natin. Kaya siya retain the hypothesis. Walang significant difference. Walang statistically significant difference in the medians of the scores ng nasa private at saka public. So the decision natin is we cannot reject the null hypothesis. There is insufficient evidence to reject the null hypothesis. Hence, ang conclusion, there is no significant difference in the median work motivation scores of employees from private banks and from public banks. So report natin the medians of scores and work motivation of 12 employees from private banks, private yung itaas, and 11 employees from public banks were compared. It was found that there is no significant difference. Chi-square, 1 ang degrees of freedom, ang value ng chi-square ay 2.112. Chi-square yung median test pero chi-square nakalagay. Kasi chi-square distribution pa rin siya. The computed P is greater than 0.05 kasi 0.220 yun. And the millions of work motivation scores of employees from public and private banks. So this provides evidence that the work motivation of the employees from private and public banks are comparable. So hindi natin masasabi na mas motivated yung mga nasa private banks or mas mataas ang motivation ng mga nasa public banks. Comparable lang ang level of motivation ng employees na galing doon sa private or public banks. So that is the median test. Okay, now, let us proceed to the Wilcoxon-Mann-Whitney test. Actually, tinatawag din itong Mann-Whitney test lang, Mann-Whitney test, or tinatawag din ito minsan na Wilcoxon sum rank sum test. Doon sa ating related sample, meron tayong Wilcoxon. Ang tawag natin, Wilcoxon signed rank test. Dito, meron tayong Wilcoxon rank sum test. Rank sum. Yung isa, signed rank. Ito, Wilcoxon rank sum. Kinukuha natin yung sum ng ranks, rank sum test. Okay? Pero tawagin na lang natin Mann-Whitney test para ano, hindi makakalito. So ginagamit natin yung Mann-Whitney test when the dependent variable to be examined is at least ordinal level of measurement. At least ordinal. So kung ating data ay puro nominal, puro categorical, hindi natin magagamit si Mann-Whitney test. Kasi hindi natin makukuha ang medians kapag categorical. Nabanggit ko na to kanina. Kapag categorical ang ating data, ang ating variable, groups lang, categorical, hindi siya ordinal level, mode ang ginagamit natin dun para sa measures of central tendency. Mode, counts. Pero para magamit natin si Mann-Whitney test, kailangan kaya makalculate ang median, kaya ma-determine ang median. So at least dapat ordinal level ang measurement. So this is the non-parametric equivalent of the independent samples t-test. Si Mann-Whitney test, ang non-parametric equivalent ni independent samples t-test. Meaning, kung halimbawa meron tayong data, large sample size, so pwede magamit si t-test dun kasi large ang sample size. Kaya lang violated yung assumption ng normality. So instead of using the independent samples t-test, gagamitin natin si Mann-Whitney test. Kasi violated yung assumption of normality. Pero halimbawa ganito, nag-compute ka ng t-test. Kahit violated yung assumption, nag-compute ka ng t-test, nag-compute ka ng Mann-Whitney test. Tapos parehas ang decision, parehas ang result. It is better to report the parametric result, the t-test. Okay. Kasi mas powerful pa rin ang parametric statistics, t-test, kung parehas ang result. Pero kapag hindi, di sinan-parametric tayo kasi baka yung problema dun ay dahil na rin sa non-normality ng dataset natin. Okay, so we use this to compare distributions of two groups. So, ang aim nito is to determine kung merong significant differences. Kung merong significant difference na nag-exist between the distributions of two groups. So, ang tanong dyan sa null hypothesis, ang statement natin nito sa null hypothesis, there is no significant difference. Okay. Assumptions. Okay, babanggitin ko yung independence of observation. Ito, yung IV natin dapat dichotomous. Yung independent variable dapat dichotomous. Kasi kung hindi siya dichotomous, magkakaroon tayo ng three or more groups. Yung sinasabi dito na IV is dichotomous, para meron tayong two groups. Halimbawa, ang independent variable natin ay sex, so meron tayong male tsaka female, two groups yun. So magagamit natin si Mann-Whitney. Kasi kung halimbawa ang IV natin ay hindi dichotomous, for example, year level, meron tayong first year, second year, tsaka third year, yun yung ating independent variable, and obviously hindi siya dichotomous kasi tatlo na yung levels natin, first year, second year, tsaka third year. Hindi natin magagamit si Mann-Whitney test kasi si Mann-Whitney ay para lang sa comparing of two groups, comparison of two groups. Tapos, yung DV natin is at least ordinal. Nabanggit ko to kanina. Ito pa, isang importanteng assumption sa Mann-Whitney test ay dapat yung kanilang shape, distribution shape ay similar. Parehas ang distribution shape. Pacheck natin to using Kolmogorov-Smirnov 2 sample test. Di ba yung Kolmogorov-Smirnov, if you can still remember, ginagamit natin siya to check kung normally distributed or hindi ang ating dataset. So, pwede natin yung magamit dito. I-check, gagamitin natin yung Kolmogorov-Smirnov 2 sample test. Ang check natin sa Kolmogorov-Smirnov two sample test is if the distribution of the two groups ay similar or hindi. Halimbawa, lumabas na similar, we can proceed with the Mann-Whitney test. Kapag lumabas na hindi similar yung distribution and shape, gamitin natin si median test. Okay? Kasi kapag hindi similar yung ating distribution shape, ibig sabihin lang yan, malawak yung variability ng dalawa. Merong heteroscedasticity, merong heterogeneity of variance. Ibig sabihin, yung variance nila masyadong malayo kung i-compare yung variances. Walang homogeneity, walang homoscedasticity. So, yan. So, ulit, isa sa assumption ng Mann-Whitney, U-test ay dapat yung shape of distribution nung dalawang groups natin ay similar. Makikita natin yun sa Kolmogorov-Smirnov test. Or actually, pwede rin yung Levens test. Levens test. Babagitin ko to later ulit sa ANOVA or sa Kruskal-Wallis, yung Levens test. Pero pwede rin natin magamit yung Levens test. Kasi yung Levens test ay ginagamit natin siya to check yung variability kapag malayo or hindi ganun kalayo yung variability ng two groups. So ito, ulit, if the shape of the distribution are not similar, we use the median test. Okay, so this is an example natin. Meron tayong data collected from study comparing two methods being used to teach reading recovery in the fourth grade. So merong method 1, merong grade 4, tapos yung grade 4 na yon tinuturuan ng reading recovery. Tapos meron dalawang method na ginamit. Yung method 1, pull-out program. Yung mga bata, kukunin sa classroom for 30 minutes per day, 4 days a week. Kumbaga, nasa klase sila, kukunin yung mga bata, tapos tuturuan sila magbasa. Pull-out program na ang tawag. Tuturuan sila magbasa in 30 minutes, 4 times a day. 4 days a week. Yung method 2 naman, small group program. Kung saan yung mga bata ay tunuruan in groups of 4 or 5 for 45 minutes a day in the classroom 4 days a week. So, merong dalawang methods na ginamit. Okay? So, halimbawa, merong 20 students, yung 10 nandoon sa pull-out program, tapos yung another 10 nandoon sa small group program. Okay. The students were tested using reading comprehension after 4 weeks of the program. So, ang ating dependent variable ay na-measure using the reading comprehension test. The test results are shown in the table. Ang question, how do the results of the reading comprehension test compare between the two methods used? Ito pala. So, ilan ba ang participants dito? Students, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, merong 7 students na nasa pull-out program at merong 7 students naman na nasa small group program. Ito yung kanilang scores. So, ang dependent variable natin dito ay yung scores in the reading comprehension test. And it is measured score. So, ibig sabihin, ano siya, hindi siya continuous, hindi siya categorical, hindi siya nominal, hindi rin siya ordinal. Kasi scores nga ang pinag-usapan natin dito. Scores sa test. Ang dependent variable natin ay continuous in measure. Samantalang ang ating independent variable ay yung kung saan silang the methods kung sa method 1 or method 2, pull-out program or small group program. Okay. So, ang ating independent variable ay dichotomous kasi dalawa lang yung options, method 1 or method 2. Samantalang ang ating dependent variable ay continuous. Tapos, ang question natin dito is, how do they compare? Kino-compare natin. Meron bang difference doon sa test scores? So, magagamit natin dito si Mann-Whitney test. Okay, so solution. The aim of this hypothesis test is to determine if the distribution of test scores between the groups are significantly different or not. Hence, we have the following hypothesis. Ito yung hypothesis natin. Ang null hypothesis natin is there is no significant difference in the distribution of the reading comprehension test scores of the students who are in method 1 and in method 2. So sinasabi natin na walang difference doon sa scores kung nasa ang method sila, method 1 or method 2. Samantalang ang ating alternative hypothesis ay merong difference. There is a significant difference. Kaya lang itong alternative hypothesis natin, non-directional ito. Kasi hindi ko sinasabi na kung sino yung mas mataas. Kung babanggit natin dito na yung scores ng students in method 1 ay higher sa scores ng students na nasa method 2, directional yun. Merong direction. In this case, ang alternative hypothesis natin ay non-directional. Okay? So, two-tailed test ang ating type of test. So, we will use a significance level of 0.05. The data are obtained from two independent samples. Dapat itong statement na to, babanggitin ko to dito sa later bago mag-decision rule. So, ganito siya. The data are obtained from two independent samples of fourth grade children being taught reading. Both the sample sizes and an existing outlier in the second sample violate our assumptions of normality. Tingnan natin ulit yung data natin. So, tingnan natin yung data. Sa method 2, meron daw outlier. Ito, meron siyang score na 102. Yung 102 na score ay napakalayo as compared dito sa scores natin ng ibang students, 14, 18, 20, 10, 12, 17. So therefore, yung score na 102 is an outlier. We don't have to create a backspot for this. Makikita na natin agad na outlier nga siya. Dito sa method 1, wala namang outlier, I suppose, kasi halos malalapit lang naman yung scores. Pero ito sa method 2, meron siyang outlier. Actually, pwede natin magamit dito si median test because of the presence of outliers. Pero ang topic natin is Mann-Whitney test, so gagamitin natin si Mann-Whitney test. So, yun nga, violated yung assumptions ng normality. So, meaning, hindi natin magagamit dito si t-test kasi violated yung assumption ng normality. And another, small ang sample size natin. Ang sample size natin ay 7 lang per group. Uh, para at least merong normally distributed data, yung at per group dapat greater than 15 sana. Ang per group natin 7 lang. So, violated pa rin yung assumption of normality with respect to the sample size of each group. So, since we are comparing two independent samples, we will use the Mann-Whitney test. We will use a significance level of 0.05, and our decision rule is to reject the null hypothesis if the computed p-value is, of course, less than 0.05. So ito yung ating result. Makikita natin, okay, mayroong kulay yellow. Dilaw, di ba? Sabi ko sa inyo dati, kapag dilaw yan, ibig sabihin yan, significant ang result. So ang null hypothesis natin, the distribution of scores is the same across categories of methods. Parang parehas lang yun sa ating template. There is no significant difference in the scores of method 1 and method 2. Parehas lang yung statement na yun. Positive lang yung pakakasulat nito na same across categories. Ang t-test natin, ang test natin is independent samples Mann-Whitney test. Makikita natin ang ating p-value, yung significant, yung ating significance. Yung ating p-value ay 0.026. And 0.026 is less than 0.05. Therefore, our decision is to reject the null hypothesis. By rejecting the null hypothesis, we state the alternative hypothesis. So by rejecting the null hypothesis, we conclude that a significant difference exists between the distribution of scores of students who are in method 1 and in method 2, or who are in the pull-out program and small group program. Pansinin nyo rin yung graph. Okay, tingnan natin yung graph. Dito sa number 1, sa method 1, there are 7 scores and ang main rank ay 10. Ibig sabihin yung sum ng ranks ay 70. Samantalang dito sa number 2, 7 ang count, ang sample size, ang main rank niya ay 5. So 35 yung sum of ranks. Okay, ito yung frequencies. Ang total N natin ay 14, ang Mann-Whitney statistics ay 7, ang Wilcoxon niya ay 35, pero ang i-report natin yung Mann-Whitney. Ang test statistics din ay 7, standard error, hindi natin yan kailangan. Dito tayo sa p-value, asymptotic, tsaka exact sig. Bakit ang na-report natin dito sa Bakit ang report dito ay exact significance? Kasi meron tayong small sample size. Di ba, nabanggit ko to kanina. Kapag ang sample size natin ay small, we report the exact sig, exact p. So instead of reporting 0.25, 0.025, we report the 0.026 kasi ito yung exact p significance. Okay. So in addition, since the sum of ranks for method 1, which is 70, 7 times 10, was larger than the sum of ranks in method 2, which is 35. 7 times 5 is 35. The sum of ranks, we see that method 1 had significantly higher scores. Okay. So ito na yung reporting the result. Kwento muna natin yung study. Two methods were used to provide students with reading comprehension. Method 1 involved a pull-out program and method 2 involved a small group program. Using the ranked reading comprehension test scores, the results indicated a significant difference between the two methods. The Mann-Whitney U equals 7 kasi 7 yung ating Mann-Whitney U statistics. Ang sample sizes, N1 for sample size for method 1 is 7. Sample size for method 2 is 7. Pero take note it does not have to be equal yung sample sizes, not necessarily equal. Nagkataon lang na parehas na 7. The p-value is less than 0.05. So kaya siya significant kasi yung computed p ay less than 0.05. The sum of ranks for method 1, which is 70, was larger than the sum of ranks for method 2, which is 35. Therefore, we can state that the data support that the pull-out program as a more effective reading comprehension program, reading program for teaching reading comprehension to fourth grade children at the school. So, ito yung ating report. Ulitin ko ulit. In reporting the result, meron muna kayong introductory part. Kwento ninyo yung study. Ano yung gustong malaman sa study. Tapos banggitin na ninyo yung mga results. Ano yung mga numbers na kailangan natin. Yung test statistics, yung sample size, yung degrees of freedom. Anyway, dito hindi kailangan ng degrees of freedom. Tapos yung P. Kasi hindi naman reported ang degrees of freedom dito eh. Wala naman nakalagay dyan na degrees of freedom. Pero kung sakaling reported ang degrees of freedom sa results, babanggitin natin yun. Tapos yung p-value in relation to the alpha level. Ang alpha level natin 0.05. So we report either less than 0.05 or greater than 0.05. Kapag significant yung results, tsaka natin banggitin kung sino yung may larger sum of ranks. Kapag hindi naman significant yung result, no need to mention yung sum of ranks. Kasi nga, wala nang significant eh. Ibig sabihin, comparable lang yung mga result ng scores. So you don't have to mention about the sum of ranks na. Okay, so that's it. So yun yung Mann-Whitney test. Okay. So, pinag-usapan natin kanina, case of two independent samples. So, napag-usapan natin si Fisher's exact test, si chi-square test, si median test, tapos si Mann-Whitney test. Meron pa palang isa yun, si Kolmogorov-Smirnov. Kaya lang, between Mann-Whitney test tsaka Kolmogorov-Smirnov, mas preferred natin gamitin si Mann-Whitney test. Kasi medyo maraming assumptions pa kay Kolmogorov-Smirnov. Isa pa, mas ginagamit natin si Kolmogorov-Smirnov to determine kung similar ang shape ng distributions. Okay? Kapag similar ang shape. Kapag median-based yung ating statistics, mas better pa rin i-report na lang si Mann-Whitney test. So, ayan. Hindi. Doon sa handout sa binigay ko, meron dong nakalagay kung kailan gagamitin si Mann-Whitney test at si Kolmogorov-Smirnov. One example is kung halimbawa merong mga ties sa scores, ibig sabihin yung scores natin merong parehas na value. Example kanina, halimbawa merong score na 20, tapos merong another score na 20. So meron siyang ties. Mas preferred si Mann-Whitney test. So in general, we prefer the Mann-Whitney test. kaysa kay Kolmogorov-Smirnov two samples test. Okay, ngayon naman, meron tayong case of K-independent samples. Ibig sabihin, more than three or more groups. So, halimbawa, year level ang ating independent variable, year level ang independent variable, tapos meron siyang three categories or three levels, first year, second year, tsaka third year. So, magkakaroon na tayo ng three groups doon. Ang gagamitin na natin yung the case of K-independent samples. Kaya lang, yung chi-square test for independent sample tsaka median test, nabanggit ko na to kanina. Ganon din naman, wala naman tayong masyadong anuhin doon o wala tayong ibang gagawin doon. Ang ibig ko sabihin, kung gagamitin natin yung SPSS, wala naman tayong kailangan pang i-click na iba. Kasi nakalagay doon sa SPSS, two or more. Nag-a-apply na siya. Yung chi-square test for K-independent samples tsaka extension of the median test. So ngayon, ang pag-uusapan natin is Kruskal-Wallis H test tsaka itong si Cochran-Mantel-Haenszel chi-square test. Kaya lang hindi ko pa yata siya nagawa dito hindi ko pa siya nasulat dito sa PowerPoint. Okay, pag-usapan natin si Kruskal-Wallis H test. Ilang beses ko na ito nabanggit kanina. Okay, related si Kruskal-Wallis H test kay Friedman test. Dapat alam niyo pa si Friedman. Si Friedman test, ginagamit natin siya kapag nagko-compare tayo ng three or more related samples. Related samples. 'Di ba? Extension si Friedman test ng Wilcoxon-Sindrong test. Dapat hindi niyo kinakalimutan yung mga pinag-aaral natin na. Okay. Si Wilcoxon-Sindrong test tsaka si Friedman test ginagamit natin if we have related samples. Pero kapag meron tayong unrelated samples or independent samples, ang gagamitin natin ay si Mann-Whitney test kapag two groups or si Kruskal-Wallis H test kapag three or more groups. So this is also referred to as the one-way ANOVA on ranks or the non-parametric ANOVA. And this test extends the Mann-Whitney test to compare three or more independent groups. So kung may two groups lang kayo, Mann-Whitney ang gagamitin. Kapag may three or more groups, Kruskal-Wallis H test ang gagamitin. Pero dapat independent yung groups. Okay. So this is the non-parametric alternative of one-way ANOVA. So kung halimbawa, meron tayong ginawang survey, tapos large ang sample size, let's say 100 ang ating sample size doon. Tapos ang groups ay nahati, male-female. Halimbawa, meron tayong 45 male, 55 female. So, pasok sana siya doon sa assumption ng sample size na greater than 15 per group. Kaya lang, halimbawa, pag tinas natin yung normality, lumabas na non-normal yung ating distribution, gagamitin natin si Kruskal-Wallis. Pero kung halimbawa lumabas na hindi violated yung test of normality, na normal, approximately normal yung ating distribution, gagamitin natin si parametric na one-way ANOVA. Okay, so magagamit natin si Kruskal-Wallis H test kapag merong parametric assumptions na violated na kung saan hindi natin magagamit yung ANOVA, analysis of variance. Nga pala, hindi nyo pa pala inaral yung ANOVA, dapat naaral yun na to. Okay, Kruskal-Wallis H test is an omnibus test. Ibig sabihin nun, parehas doon sa ANOVA, parehas sa Friedman test, omnibus test sila kasi kapag lumabas na significant yung result, hindi natin alam kung nasaan yung difference. Parang ito, halimbawa, if the test leads to significant result, at least one of the samples is different. Halimbawa, ang ating independent samples, ang ating independent variable ay year level. So, yung year level natin ay mayroong three levels. So, three categories. First year, second year, tsaka third year. Okay, nagko-compare tayo ng, for example, satisfaction sa online learning. Tapos, three levels siya. First year, second year, tapos third year. Tapos, nag-conduct na tayo ng test, Kruskal-Wallis H test, doon sa three levels na yun. Lumabas na significant yung result. So, ibig sabihin, merong significant differences doon. Ang problema, hindi natin alam kung alin yung iba, alin yung naiiba. First year ba, different kay second year? Si first year, different kay third year? O si second year, different ang satisfaction kay third year? So, hindi natin alam kung nasaan yung pair na merong significant differences. Ang tinetest lang ni Kruskal-Wallis ay at least one of the samples ay different from the others. Yun lang. Pero hindi niya ina-identify kung alin yung different. Kaya siya omnibus test. Pare-pareha silang tatlo. Pareha siya kay ANOVA, pareha siya kay Friedman test, tsaka pareha siya kay Kruskal-Wallis. That's why we perform post hoc tests or post hoc analysis. Ang post hoc lang naman is yung kanilang mga in-extend. Halimbawa, si ANOVA, extension siya ng t-test. So kung lumabas na significant ANOVA ang result, we perform pairwise comparison using t-test. Kung si Friedman test naman, lumabas na significant ang result, we perform pairwise comparison of Wilcoxon-Sindrong test. Kung ito naman si Kruskal-Wallis Age test, lumabas na significant ang result, we perform pairwise comparison using the Mann-Whitney U-test. So, ayun. So, meron tayong post-hoc analysis whenever the result is significant, whenever we reject the null hypothesis, whenever our p-value is less than the significance level of 0.05, tsaka tayo magpo-post hoc. Kapag wala, kapag hindi significant, si SPSS hindi naman magko-compute yan ng post hoc kapag hindi significant. Hindi yan magbibigay ng pairwise comparison kapag hindi significant. Okay. Assumptions ni Kruskal-Wallis. Papasok pa rin din yung independence of observation, yung normality, randomization, ayan. Tsaka independence of group. So, halimbawa, first assumption natin dito, the data consists of randomly selected sample of independent observations from 3 or more independent groups. Actually, yung tatlong assumptions, PIGBIO, pinag-isa niya na sa assumption na to. Nandyan yung random, ano yan? Randomization, randomly selected sample. Nandyan yung independent of observations at nandyan din yung independence of groups. So actually, sa isang statement na to, tatlo na yung assumption na nakalagay dyan. Randomization, independence of observations, and independence of groups. Next, the measurement scale is at least ordinal. Hindi tayo makakapag-conduct ng Kruskal-Wallis kapag nominal ang ating dataset. 'Di ba nabanggit ko ang Kruskal-Wallis extension ni Mann-Whitney. So ganun din, nabanggit ko kanina kay Mann-Whitney U-test. Hindi tayo makakapag Mann-Whitney U-test kapag puro nominal ang ating dataset. Kahit mag-SPSS kayo, kapag nakalagay doon puro nominal, hindi magpe-perform ng Kruskal-Wallis or ng Mann-Whitney U-test. Kasi dapat ang measurement scale natin, yung dependent variable, is at least ordinal level. Next, the distributions of data for each independent group share a similar distribution. Malamang babanggitin natin yan kasi nga si Kruskal-Wallis ay extension ni Mann-Whitney test. So whatever assumptions we have for Mann-Whitney test ay mag-carried over. Mag-assumption din natin siya kay Kruskal-Wallis H test. So kung kay Mann-Whitney, assumption na dapat similar yung shape. Okay? Similar, statistically, similar yung distribution shape. Kay Kruskal-Wallis, ganun din. Dapat statistically similar yung shape. Ito na, nabanggit ko to kanina si Levens test. So, to check kung similar yung ating distribution ng yung shape ng distribution, we make use of the Levens test. Actually, ang mini-measure ni Levens test ay yung variability, kung gaano kalayo yung variability. 'Di ba? Sa normality, ang rule of thumb natin is dapat hindi lalampas sa twice nung isa. Alam ba, ang variance nung isa ay 0.5, dapat yung other groups hindi lalampas sa 0.5. Kung halimbawa, 0.5 yung variance ng isang group, tapos yung other group, ang variance na ay 1.1, di matik violated yung assumption ng homoskedasticity of data. Ito, nabanggit dito, homoskedasticity of data. Ibig sabihin yan, walang homogeneity of variance. The Levens test check whether we have homogeneity or heterogeneity of variance. Okay. Dapat merong homogeneity of variance, homoskedasticity. Okay. So makikita natin yung sa Levens test. Magsasettle ako ng example nito. If the assumption is violated, we instead report the Wilch ANOVA. Wilch ANOVA. Or actually the median test. Median test kapag merong outliers. Okay? So, Kruskal-Wallis H-test tayo. Kapag violated yung homoscedasticity, we use the Welch test. The Welch ANOVA. Kung merong masyadong maraming outliers, we use the median test. Yun lang yun. Yun yung mga, kung kailan natin gagamitin yung mga tests. Okay, example. Researchers were interested in studying the social interaction of different adults. So they sought to determine if social interaction can be tied to social confidence. So gusto nilang makita yung mga socially interactive individuals ba or socially less interactive individuals. Ano yung kanilang levels of confidence? Kumbaga, parang tinatanong dito, related ba yung self-confidence ng individual sa kanilang social interaction, type of social interaction? So dito, the researchers classified 17 participants. Sample size pa lang, masasabi natin na violated na yung normality or yung parametric assumptions. Kasi there are only 17 participants. Hinati pa yung 17 into 3 groups. Para at least, para masabi natin na normal, per group dapat meron tayong 15 or above. 17 na nga yung totality. Hahatiin pa sa tatlo. So wala na, hindi na tayo dito mag-a-assume ng normality. Yung assumption of normality, wala na yun. Kaya non-parametric talaga gagamitin natin dito. Yung three groups na labeling, either meron siyang high level of social interaction, medium level of social interaction, or low level of social interaction. Pag meron tayong high level of social interaction, ibig sabihin ito yung mga tao na constant pakikipag-interact. Kumbaga, ito yung sila yung mga extrovert, yung mga merong high uh, social interaction. Samantalang introverts naman yung low social interaction. They remain mostly isolated from others. So, yung 17, hinati natin sa tatlo. Tapos, yung 17 participants na yun, na-group natin into three categories or three groups, binigyan natin ng survey or ng test para sa self-confidence. Tapos, ito yung mga score. Okay, after the participants had been classified, they were directed to complete a self-assessment of self-confidence. Kasi nga, ang pinag-uusapan natin dito, o ulit, ang topic natin dito, interested yung researcher kung yung kanilang social interaction ay linked sa kanilang self-confidence. Meron bang relation yung kanilang level of social interaction sa kanilang level of self-confidence? So ito. So after classifying the 17 participants into whether they have high, medium, or low social interaction, binigyan sila ng self-assessment para sa self-confidence on a 25-point scale. Tapos ito yung scores. So ayan. So sa high, karamihan matataas ang scores kasi nga baka pwede nating sabihin na kapag high ang social interaction, mataas din ang self-confidence. Parang ganun. Makikita din natin yung tendency ng nasa low social interaction na mabababa din yung ah, scores nila sa self-confidence. This is self-assessment ha. So sila yung nag-score sa sarili nila. And gusto nating makita kung meron bang differences sa self-confidence scores ng mga participants na nasa high, medium, or low uh, social interaction. So, state natin yung hypothesis. There is no significant difference in the medians across the different groups of social interaction. So, ibig sabihin, walang difference sa medians ng self-confidence na mga nasa high, medium, or low social interaction. Samantalang ang ating alternative hypothesis ay at least one of the group ay naiiba ang median. Okay, so we want to determine if there is a significant difference between any of the three groups. Gusto nating makita kung magkakaiba yung kanilang scores sa social confidence ng three groups. Since the data is measured in ordinal scale, yung data natin na scores, actually interval na yun eh. Pero at least ordinal, at least ordinal. And the sample sizes are small for the three groups. The Kruskal-Wallis H-test can be used to analyze data and test the hypothesis. We will use a significance level of 0.05 and our decision rule is to reject the null hypothesis if the computed p-value is less than 0.05. We will use SPSS to determine the test statistics and the p-value. And these are the results. Tingnan natin dito sa gitna. Nakalagay dyan sa gitna na ang null hypothesis, the distribution of self-confidence scores is the same across categories. Walang significant difference. Ang ginamit natin na test ay Kruskal-Wallis H-test. Makikita natin ang p-value ay 0.007. Meaning, mababa yan. Yung p-value na 0.00007 is way less than our risk level na 0.05. So ang decision is to reject the null hypothesis. And by rejecting the null hypothesis, we use the alternative hypothesis. At least one of the groups has different median compared with the other groups. Merong grupo na naiiba ang median. Kung titingnan natin dito sa ating box plots, tingnan nyo naman, yung nasa high interaction, matataas ang scores. Ito yung kanyang median. Yung nasa medium, narito, tapos yung low, narito. So talagang magkakaiba sila ng median scores. Okay. Ngayon, hanggang dun lang si Cruz Calvalis. Sasabihin niya lang na magkakaiba ang groups or merong group na naiiba. Hanggang dun lang si Cruz Calvalis. So, hindi enough na yun lang yung alam natin. We need to determine kung alin yung group na naiiba. Tatlong group siya, di ba? Alin yung magkaiba? Alin yung pair of groups na magkaiba? Si high iba ba kay medium, si medium iba kay low, or si high iba kay low? Yun yung gusto natin ma-determine. Since the result is significant, we have to consider a post-hoc analysis, the pairwise comparison. Take note pala ha, in reporting yung results, babanggitin natin yung mga nandito. The sample size, the test statistics, the degrees of freedom, and the p-value. Bakit asymptotic? Okay. Yan, tingnan natin. Ito yung result din. Pansinin natin. Uh, bakit nandyan si medium? Medium, 8.10 ang rank. Average rank kay low, 4.83. Tapos kay high, 13.92. Each node shows the sample average rank. Pero ito yung tingnan natin na table. Yung comparison na ng low to medium, low to high, medium to high. Makikita natin ito. Bonferroni procedure gagamitin natin. So, sa adjusted p-value tayo. Makikita natin na yung p-value na below sa since 0.05 adjusted natin yung 0.05 Bonferroni procedure 0.05 i-divide natin ng 3 so ilan ba? Hmm, ay hindi sheets ano ba yan? Mali. 0.05 divided by 3 is 0.016. Okay. Alin dyan sa adjusted P ang below 0.016 or 0.017? Ito lang yun na 0.005 yung nasa low to high. So, ibig sabihin, ang merong significant difference ng medians ay yung group ng low social interaction at high social interaction. Yung groups ng low at medium ay hindi sila significantly different. Yung groups naman ng medium tsaka ay high ay hindi rin sila significantly different. Okay, so thus, the results show that the difference lies between the low and high social interaction. Thus, there is a difference in the self-confidence of individuals who have high social interaction and low social interaction, with individuals with high social interaction having high self-confidence. Take note, ang dependent variable natin dito ay self-confidence. Tapos ang kino-compare natin yung social interaction na merong low, medium, tapos high. So how do we report now the results? Okay, ito na siya. So the levels of social confidence of participants were compared across three social interaction groups. High, the sample size is 6. Medium, the sample size is 5. And low, the sample size is 6. The Kruskal-Wallis H test was significant. Actually, may kulang din sa introduction natin. Okay then. The Kruskal-Wallis H test was significant since the Kruskal-Wallis H test with degrees of freedom of 2 is 9.94 and the p-value is less than 0.05. Furthermore, a post-hoc analysis revealed that the difference in levels of self-confidence exists between individuals in high social interaction groups and low social interaction groups with the p equal to 0.005, with individuals in high social interaction groups having a high level of self-confidence as compared to individuals in low social interaction groups. That's it. Okay, so ayun. So those are, actually yun na yun, yung ating stop ko ni sharing. Hmm.